Hello, everybody. How are you doing? It's Tyron Magnus. I'm sorry. It is here in this case. It's Damon up with another list. Today will be the top 12 list of the biggest entertainment failed, in my opinion. Now you can have others, and but this one will basically will engross not just movies, can do sports entertainment, can involve music, and can involve as well uh, video games. So, without further ado, then my number one, my number 12 inductee in this dishonorable list is the idea to make a Joker 2 sequel to a Joker sequel, first of all, and not only this, turn it into a musical. If it wasn't bad enough, the idea behind killing Arthur Fleck's Joker and basically portraying him as being a loser at the end doesn't sit well in general. It feels like the main producer and Todd Phillips basically rewatched Joker and didn't understand the message of he didn't understand the basically the beauty of his own movie. He didn't understand the message of his own movie. The movie wasn't about glorifying Arthur Fleck's action. If anything, it was a telltale sign of maybe we should treat people with mental illness better. That was the message of the movie. So yeah, you're Arthur Fleck acted in a criminal manner, but at the same time, let's be honest, Gotham itself is a character. I would dare say that Gotham itself was the antagonist of the story. I mean, from the get-go, it seems like Arthur Fleck never really had a chance in life. I mean, his mom let him get beaten up by her boyfriend at the time, and basically hit his, basically her boyfriend hit Arthur Fleck's head or back of the head against a radiator, and that caused him basically the nervous laughter, that basically his condition. So, and it's kind of sad that basically at the end of the movie we're all cheering for him to find his place in the world as the Joker. But the point is, it's not like it was like a normal city. It was basically Gotham, the worst place in the world. It's a fictional town where basically crime runs rampant. And it's like the second one, Todd Phillips just decided, you know what? You know what I should do? I should tick off every fan that ever loved the first one. And if it wasn't bad enough, I have to make it a musical. But dare I say, Warner Brothers did not learn from the Hangover. I mean, he did a great Hangover. Hangover 2, eh. Hangover 3 was like the best part was basically with uh Alan and the giraffe in the first 10 minutes. After this, tried to become a crime ice movie and it didn't fit the bill. So for me, that's number 16. Number 15, the 3D craze. And I'm sure you're going to remember this. It started basically really back in 2009 with Avatar. I remember because I hate saying back in the day, but in 2008, when The Dark Knight basically hit a monumental success, they decided, you know what? Every movie should be gritty, not realizing that what works for Batman does not work for everybody else. That's the thing that's sad about Hollywood. You'd think they'd be smarter sometimes, but no, they're going to take up one little small aspect and then think that encapsulates the whole movie. Rather than saying it was written perfectly, Heath Ledger was an awesome Joker. Christian Bale, you can laugh at his bad voice. I don't care. I love Bale's performance. The bad voice would only bother me if he made a long speech with him. If not, it made sense. So basically, in the novel version, basically novelized version, it's explained that he does this because he has a voice modulating machine. So, yeah. But and Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face is really underrated. We don't talk enough about his performance in the movie, as well as other performances. Bits piece like Eric Roberts, which I felt hit his best performance in a long time. Uh, Tiny Lister, the late great Tiny Lister, Zeus in it, and honestly, it's his best performance since Friday, in my opinion. Uh, What else can we say about the acting? The action scenes were awesome. It's a movie I went to see 5 times in the movie theater. And every time the audience clap at the end, and they clap at the end of the chase with the Bat Pod and the Joker basic truck. Seriously, it's a movie that still amazed me even after I've seen it several times. I mean, the pencil trick. Again, the movie theater, I could hear people do the moment that we saw the pencil trick. But people took it the wrong way and rather than decided maybe the Dark Knight was an awesome movie, they decided, you know what? Every movie should be gritty. Similarly, 1 year later, Avatar hit the screen, and you can say what you want about the story, but I will still defend that the visual effects are gorgeous. You can lose yourself in there. I mean, if there was a movie in which case I feel like 3D not only is a blessing, it should be Anchorage, it's Avatar because it's made to be 3D, it's encompassing. However, then this every movie started to be 3D. And I'm gonna list some. There were Green Hornet in 3D, Green Lantern 3D, Animated Movie in 3D, My Bloody Valentine 3D, Harold and Kumar 3 in 3D. And it became, honestly, I felt it wasn't just a gimmick. It was basically a pseudo scam to get more money because it added nothing to the movie. Now we still see some 3D movies that happens from time to time, but much less because I feel like people might have realized that it more or less is a scam. It doesn't add anything to the movie. Sure, you see it for some animated movies, but apart from that, not really. So that would be this 15. 14 is more hilarious. It's more a worst idea. It's the War of the Worlds remake. I mean, War of the Worlds 2005 wasn't the greatest movie in the world, but it was a very well made movie with Steven Spielberg at the helm and Tom Cruise. Hey, I'll defend this. I'll say that basically the first pairing of Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise produced Minority Report, which is one of my favorite movies. I would dare say I think it's one of my favorite Steven Spielberg movie. It's not my number one Steven Spielberg movie, but that maybe I'll let you know another time. But then 20 years later, nearly to the day of the release of War of the Worlds, we decide to have another one on pure Amazon Prime with Ice Cube, which is basically done on a Zoom call. And not only this, the tagline is "It's worse than you think." And my first instinct is it a joke? I watched that movie and I felt it was a joke. I didn't look at that movie like basically I wasn't offended by it. I just thought, man, that's a legendary bad movie. When Double Toasted and Pitch Meeting which is Ryan George, stopped the entire reviews they were gonna do just to put it aside what they were supposed to do originally and focus on War of the Worlds with Ice Cube. That says something. It might be one of the worst movies, but one of the most pleasantly bad movies I've seen. And honestly, it's a laugh riot. You're not gonna be bored by watching that movie. You're gonna say it's a masterpiece of badness. So, yeah, that would be War of the Worlds. That's the funniest part. Okay, that was sorry. I said it was. Sorry, I said that basically was 14. Actually, it's 10. Sorry, I made it. I made a mistake there. 12, like I said, it was Joker 2 sequel. 11 was 3D Craze. 10 was War of the Worlds. Number 9 now, Rachel Ziegler. Rachel Ziegler Mania. That nearly ran wild, brothers. And why is it annoying? Now, it probably ended right away because okay, she was picked. She was a Broadway actress, and let's be fair, she's very good as an actress. She's very good in terms of a singer, and she was handpicked to do a West Side Story remake by Steven Spielberg. I love Steven Spielberg, and I love the original West Side Story, despite the fact I'm not a musical fan. But it's a story that was self-contained back in the past. We didn't need to redo it. Especially when it's gonna be the same ending, just maybe better special effects. But even then, I felt like it missed the point of the original. Bottom line, uh, Rachel Ziegler was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Guess what? She didn't win Best Actress that year. It was Ariana DeBose, who is the lead actress of West Side Story. She was playing Mary in the movie. But because of that performance, I mean, she felt so entitled and spoiled that she wasn't invited to the Oscars that she basically had statements made about this, acting like a crybaby that she wasn't invited. Last time I checked, you can be not invited and still show up. But anyway, that's the start of basically the Rachel Ziegler saga. So, afterwards, what did she do? She did Shazam 2, and honestly, was one of the she was okay in that movie. She wasn't one of the worst parts. She was one of the most forgettable parts of that movie. I have to rewatch. I have to basically watch it back on IMDb to know she was still in the movie. And it was a movie that flopped. Not her fault. Not Zachary Levi's fault. Not Lucy Liu's fault. It sure as hell isn't damn Ellen Mirren's fault. It's the fact that James Gunn pretty much said that they were going to reboot the DCU anyway. So what was the point? And the movie wasn't great, but still, that's my opinion. But still, you didn't help. In fact, I felt like James Gunn, after Black Adam, kind of, basically took down a lot of the movies that were supposed to be done, including Flash. I'm not saying it's the only reason. I'm saying he played a big part. It's not the only part, but big part. But anyway, that's the second flop. Then I think she made a movie called, what was it? Y2K, flopped. And then she had Snow White. Sure, in between, she had okay doing Hunger Game prequel, but it's Hunger Game of a franchise that was actually selling. And then you have Snow White. Like, let's be honest. It's not like you're dealing with Charlize Theron, who's a box office hit machine. You're dealing with a person who's basically is always related to flop after flop after flop with bad attitude, bad attitude, bad attitude. And Hollywood still tried to make Rachel Ziegler a thing. And now Snow White has been a catastrophe on all fronts. And it took that for them to realize that maybe Rachel Ziegler is not the new hit girl. She might just be just an actress. And of course she's not gonna be hit girl. It was Chloe Grace Moritz that was hit girl. But I meant basically she's not gonna be the new hit girl of Hollywood. And for her sake, I know she's not watching this, she better change her attitude. Because the world doesn't owe him or a damn thing. And that's all she acts. She acts the world owes her a damn thing when it doesn't. How many actors don't make it big? How many actor or actress make it big? I think it's basically that the percentage will be less than 1%. And then that's how she acts. If she wants to command a great salary, about, make a great big box office hit first, then negotiate. So I hope she's gonna learn some humility, but until then, I'm not holding my breath for her to come back on screen in an important movie. That's number 9. Number 8, of course, it's a Batman related thing. I'm gonna mention it. I mentioned in my top super movies that I prefer Batman 89 over Batman Returns due to the fact that Batman 89 felt like a Batman movie directed by Tim Burton, whereas Batman Returns felt like a Tim Burton movie. Basically, it was a disguised Tim Burton movie with Batman in parts in it. And at the same, but yet they're still like, I would dare say, they're not that far off in terms of quality to me. It's just there's some things the Batman Returns where I feel like, strangely enough, they not hold up hold up as well in terms of time as well as Batman 89. But I looked at the box office of Batman Returns just out of curiosity. I'm thinking maybe it was a flop, maybe this. It wasn't. It just was around 70% of the original. My opinion is that in that case, remedying that situation doesn't mean change everything. They should have just said at a meeting with Tim Burton and say, hey, you can be your weird self for the next movie, but there's things we need to tone you down. I mean, remember for Bad Boys 1, 2, between the 2 and 3, they toned down some of the violence. You could say, you know what, let's tone down a little bit of the violence. Let's tone down some of the innuendos. You can still be weird, you can do some things, but calm down on those things. No, they want to make it. Why everything has to be so dark? And this is why I'm going to make a wrestling comparison here. But it feels to me like basically it's like, why is it so dark? It's like saying to Jim Cornette in a wrestling booking, why does everything has to make sense? Why does everything, this wrestler always has to be serious? And it's like you're missing the point. Like Tim Burton's Batman was working. And besides, if you're really angry with McDonald's or angry that they lost the McDonald's deal, why didn't McDonald's review the movie first before it was launched and then afterwards do comments on what's changed? And two, didn't they watch the first Batman 89? This reminds me of basically the RoboCop, basically back in the day. Like there were kids, there were basically toys about RoboCop. And RoboCop is not a kid's movie, the first one. It was very violent. And yet, I feel like some parents were appalled at the violence of the first one. They were appalled at first of the second one, despite the fact being fans of the first one. What they loved in the first one, there were some of the same thing in the second one. I think it's hypocritical, really hypocritical on people of executive. Basically, this like, why can't you be what you're supposed to be? What can a movie be what it's supposed to be? Same thing for TMNT one. The very worst that could have basically made some of the foot soldiers robots. Because, yeah, Leo uses his swords, but never chopped anybody in that movie. And the first one, I think, is timeless because when it happens during the night, like in the comic books, I feel like TMNT, their costume really, really seems more slick. When broad daylight, like in TMNT 3, it looks goofy as hell. But to me, it's you're missing the point. You're right that I think there's a lot of innuendos that basically might have turned up some parents and kids. That may be too much, but you don't fire this because it's not like you went from 200 or 300 millions to $1. No, it was still a hit, just not as much of a hit. In this case, you know, you just control this. You remedy that situation. But no, let's make it light, let's make it funny, it can be goofy, and basically use Adam West's Batman as a guideline. Hey, I love Adam West's Batman. I love Joel Schumacher's movie like Lost Boys, Phone Booth. And we have to mention that he made excellent movies, but I still maintain this day the late great Joel Schumacher did not get Batman. He did not get why Batman was Batman. That's my opinion. And yeah, but in this case, they could have easily let Batman 3 happen. But no, instead, as I mentioned before, Warner Brothers gonna Warner Brothers like they do right now. And hey, you know what? Let's make bad girls and let's never show it and just pass it as a tax, as a basically, basically do a talk for basically for tax reasons. Or basically, let's reboot the DCU rather than just continuing and just repair it. Sometimes I'm wondering at this point, how does Warner Brothers operate? Like, it seems to be a miracle the Dark Knight trilogy happened. And the way it worked is because Christopher Nolan probably had involvement in the studio, maybe some guidelines of what not to do. But overall, Chris Nolan and his team did what Chris Nolan and his team did, and they left him alone. Maybe that's what it should be. And even with Tim Burton, it should be this. I mean, look at the money they gave you for Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice, to me, yeah, the first one is better. The second one holds up as well. It's just as much a good legacy sequel as Beverly Hills Cop 4, Axel F. People basically saying it was bad. It's like really need to rewatch the original and say, yeah, there's a lot of same flaws in the originals. And maybe sometimes we'll lean on to nostalgia and not knowing that sometimes some movies, there's some sequel, it's okay that if they're not as good as long as they hold up. They're in the same league. If they're in the same league but not as good, it's good. Okay? But for Batman, I think that basically we didn't need to redo everything about Batman. We just needed to have a third one for it to have closure. And if it wasn't important, I've seen many, it's one of the things I've seen online. There's a lot of petition to a Batman 3, And I've seen that Tim Burton re-released the first two Batmans, in 2025 with the remake remastered Dolby Atmos, almost, sound effects and maybe some visual effects. And I'm thinking, I hope it's a test to see if there's going to be a Batman tree, because if there's a time, it should be now. And also a Beetlejuice tree, while we still can. And also, I would like for this to happen because I think, unlike Dark Knight Trilogy, we need closure for that. And I think I'm not the only one saying we kind of want to have closure there because it's like it doesn't feel complete. So yeah, that'll be number 8. Number 7. Now we're going to wrestling. Eric Bischoff firing Stone Cold Steve Austin and saying because guys with bald guys with black tights will never get over. Now that is a fail in many proportions. Now, if they really means bald guys with black ties being booked by WCW to be in the mid card and doing something spectacular, then I completely agree with him. But Stone Cold Steve Austin reinvented himself in WWE. Not just with his finisher, not just his Stone Cold Stunner, the team song from Jim Johnson, which is awesome. Uh, his feud with Bret Hart, his promos, he reinvented himself, and while it wasn't as long lasting as Hulk Hogan, it was basically still the hottest star since Hulk Hogan, if not even more than Hulk Hogan, because he sold more money maybe for a short amount of time, whereas Hulk Hogan was for a bigger amount of time. There's a reason why they say in terms of Stone Cold Steve Austin, it would be the Mount Rushmore of wrestling stars. And it is. But let's not deny the fact that Eric Bischoff, like it or not, can basically say he did the right thing. But how much would it basically does it nod him to know I could have gone that guy to be a top star? But to his credit, I think next time he understood in 1997, 1998 that a bald guy with black tights with a goatee can be an ass-kicking machine. And that's how Goldberg happened. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe not, but still. Number 7. I'm not that precise, but I did remember while watching Bohemian Rhapsody that some producers did not believe that Queen could basically be a commercially successful band, and that nobody would listen to a song with basically uh, sequences in the middle, especially not for 6 minutes. And the joke about it, or nobody would bang their head about this. And it was hilarious in the movie because the producer was played by Mike Myers, who banged his head to Bohemian Rhapsody in Wayne's World. Bohemian Rhapsody is still my favorite song of Queen. They have plenty of very good songs of Queens eventually, like Another One Bites the Dust, but to me, was the number one song. And it's like some producers just sometimes they refer to their knowledge of basically what made music in the past to try to determine what it would make in the future. Sometimes a great predicting tactic, but you have to understand that it's not the same time as well. There's some factors that change. There's some influence that change. Maybe some musical styles that maybe gonna be hit. Some were gonna be basically flops. But sometimes you have to take a chance. Sometimes you go with the flow with a tendency. That's true. Sometimes you go with something's completely different because at least you'll stand out. And that's the case with this. So that was number 6. Number 5, a Nintendo one. How do you follow up this SNES, which might just be the best Nintendo gaming system ever made beside the Switch? How do you that follow up? By making the Virtual Boy. I mean, I tried it once at a basically amusement park. Basically, was a Nintendo section. I tried it because I was kind of intrigued, just like some people were intrigued to try Crystal Pepsi. And just the same thing, you found yourself being, ugh. I mean, I like Pepsi, but Crystal Pepsi, ugh. I like Nintendo, but Virtual Boy, ugh. I'm not gonna buy it. Didn't feel like buying it. I'd rather save the money for an Nintendo N64, which I did. I mean, just everything being black and red is gonna hurt. It hurts the eyes. It's pretty much a video game system that encourages you not to play for more than 20 minutes. And you want people to shell out $300 to $400 in today's money, that would equal to at least 600, the equivalent at least of 600, if not $800 for that video game system. Like, luckily, basically, luckily, Nintendo called their losses and quickly stopped selling the Virtual Boy, focused more on N64, but still a huge fail. And that's number five. Number four, the Beatles. I remember one producer said the Beatles would never make it big. Think about that. Somebody would say to the Beatles, one of the biggest, highest selling bands of all time, that they would never make it big. I think it was the George Martin, not George R. R. Martin, but George Martin was not impressed at the beginning. And later on, basically, they proved him wrong. It doesn't take long sometimes. Again, you didn't think that boy bands would make it, and look at what happened. So that's for number four. Number three, again, I have to include some Batman. And that's not a fail from the studio, that's a fail from the fans. Michael Keaton being cast as Batman for 89, Batman 89. He just did Beetlejuice. We could say basically was title star of the movie. Tim Burton was the director. He wanted to basically reteam with him again. They did, and he cast him as Batman. The reason is because he's not an assuming guy. He's not basically a huge guy. He's smaller. He's not that small, but it's not somebody. He basically needs a suit to be intimidated. But if he took off the suit, you would never know the guy's Batman. And I like that logic reasoning for it to be Batman. Not for every version of Batman, but for that Tim Burton one, yeah, it does. And there were petitions that the movie was going to suck because it's going to be Michael Keaton. They petitioned to replace the movie. And just to make sure, I do remember that time basically, to make sure that's a serious movie, that basically Jack Nicholson was first to sign on for that movie. And they made sure that's one of the few movies where you see the villain's name before basically the main character's name. It was Nicholson, Keaton, Batman. But think about that. It had to be Nicholson signing on. And the moment the trailer showed up, it was basically to descend into mystery. And that scene where Batman goes in the Batman with Batmobile goes to the Batcave with Vicky Vale. They basically had to show this to reveal that it's not gonna be an Adam West like Batman. It's gonna be a totally new thing. It's gonna be a serious Batman. And people were impressed. And think about this. Then they saw the movie, they saw the first two movies, and people went from wanting anybody else to do Batman to now he's seen as for many people as the definitive live action Batman. And it's not the first time that people complain about Batman. So I'll put all of these within this. They're not as bad as with Michael Keaton, but people complain about Ben Affleck being the DCU Batman. And I thought he he played his part perfectly well, Ben Affleck. He's a very good actor. I cannot say he's my favorite Batman, and I cannot say he's the best Batman because he's not in the best movies. And truth be told, he didn't have an individual movie of his Batman, so it can't be the best one. But I would say he did fine in his role, and Robert Pattinson as Batman in The Batman was pretty good too. His Bruce Wayne was weak because basically there was no differentiation between the two roles, but still. And again, people complain. They keep complaining about who's going to be Batman. My opinion is, with history, we've shown that whoever's picked to be Batman, as long as the director is a very good director, I think we should trust them. I mean, Tim Burton's a great director. Chris Nolan, great director. Zack Snyder submits. I'm not gonna say some of his movies that didn't work. I mean, Rebel Moon and Sucker Punch, anyone? But Watchmen was great. 300 was good. Dawn of the Dead was great. Batman vs Superman, the ultimate cut was pretty good. And I really like his cut of Justice League. So we just trust him. Matt Reeves is a damn good director, and we should trust him. I think that's what it should be from now on. If a damn good director does a Batman movie, trust his instinct in terms of who's going to be Batman, because that's to fit the story. So that's number three. Number two, similarly, remember 2006, 2007 when we heard that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker in The Dark Knight? Everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people were saying, him? The guy from 10 Things I Hate About You and Brokeback Mountain is going to play the Joker? Give me a break. It should be Adrian Brody. Good actor. Adrian Brody's a good actor. No problem. It should be Paul Bettany, who ended up playing Vision. Great actor as well. I didn't think it would have fit. It would have been anybody else but Heath Ledger. And then we see this. It went from complaining about Heath Ledger to people saying he's a transcendent Joker. And people couldn't stop raving about him that even the Academy, the senile members of the Academy Award committees could not deny him. Despite their hate of comic book movies, they made him win the Best Supporting Actor at the 2008 Academy Awards. Or at least the Academy Awards for the 2008 movies that year. I mean, it wasn't just, like I said, senile people complain about Heath Ledger. Was just everybody complaining that he wouldn't be good to play the Joker. And look at him. Look at the legacy of this. Every time I watch Dark Knight, it's like you rewatch Heath Ledger's acting. It's like there's always something he does new that you find out in every little piece of it. Same thing with Aaron Eckhart. He's very underrated, and Christian Bale as well. But like it's a trio of three excellent actors around each other. It just so happened that Heath Ledger, in this case, I felt like for that flick, kind of outshined them, or at least stole their thunder every time it was around. That's number two. Number one, it's in 1977. A certain director, aspiring director called George Lucas, will do a movie called Star Wars. Basically, at first, the first cut of the movie supposedly wasn't that good, so they had basically, with the help of George Lucas' then wife, they had to redo some of the movie, a lot of parts of the movie, and basically it is better. And afterwards, Fox basically offered the Fox basically kind of nearly, I wouldn't say lowball, but they kind of seemed like, okay, we're gonna publish this movie, but George Lucas said, yeah, but I still want the rights to my characters. And they said, okay, fine. This guy's gonna be a flop. He's gonna realize when it's a flop that he's gonna regret to not sell the characters. And look what happened. The original trilogy, I do remember it started in 1977 and ended in 1983, and for 15 to 16 years, George Lucas could have basically made a fourth one. No, he thought maybe we should raise a new generation, new kids of seeing those movies. So basically, make them want it so much. So that's why there was a great anticipation to 1999's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. You basically made sure that people watch them, the original as kids, to make them want more when they're teenagers. So that's great and bold marketing strategy, and it paid off. And now, because of that strategy, George Lucas got an entire franchise, Star Wars universe about it, with some good projects and some bad projects. But that's not what I'm talking about too. Today was basically the top fell was about Fox. Fox not realizing what they got because their take was Star Wars is going to flop. And look what happened. That's why it's a fail. It's not the fact that Fox published Star Wars. It's the fact they thought so little of the movie they didn't bother trying to get the rights to the characters. And nowadays, if their franchise has potential, they would try to buy the rights to the characters. So it's a great lesson for them. Or it should have been, because Fox Studio is no longer in business, was bought by Disney. But anyway, that's my top 12 list of worst takes in the entertainment. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, I appreciate any comment you got. On that note, I appreciate every like you get, and if you want to, please subscribe. On that note, have a great one, guys. See you later.